Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ryan, and welcome to Central Park. We know it's still pretty difficult to get to some of the areas we really love, so we're going to help bring some of the areas you love to you through these virtual programs like our 15-minute weekly walks every Wednesday at 12:30, as well as our longer 45-minute virtual programs and in-person tours for those that can make it to Central Park. Thank you so much for joining us again today for one of our 15-minute long weekly walks. Today, we're going to be exploring an area known as Mineral Springs. Mineral Springs refers to one building that no longer exists in Central Park today. But today, we refer to Mineral Springs as an area just north of Sheep Meadow. We'll explore a building that sits where Mineral Springs used to sit, as well as talk about the rich history of this area as we take a beautiful walk through Central Park. We'll be together for about 15 minutes, and all the photos you're going to see were taken by myself here in Central Park over the past week, except for just a few, which I accessed through the New York City Parks Department photo archives, as well as the New York Public Library photo archives. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today, October 20th, as we take a weekly walk through Mineral Springs with me, Ryan. As we jump into our walk, I do want to thank you again for supporting us here at the Central Park Conservancy. We're the nonprofit organization that since 1980 has been helping to care for Central Park, keeping it clean and green, with our mission being to preserve and celebrate Central Park as a sanctuary from the pace and pressures of city life, enhancing the enjoyment and well-being of all. We are, of course, using Zoom. I'm sure plenty of people are very familiar with this. So if you do want to say hello, please use the chat feature. Let us know where you're joining us from or share a favorite memory of Central Park. If you do have a question, please use the Q&A feature. And my colleague Jose is on the back end answering questions you might have. Last thing you'll see pop up are some visitor polls that I'll launch throughout the walk today. And once everybody has voted, I can wrap up the results and we can share those and see what we're all thinking. Lastly, you'll also notice we are using live transcripts, live captions, so you can turn those off if you'd like. Please use the chat feature to let us know if you need help with that. But without any further ado, let's jump into our weekly walk for today, October 20th, as we make our way through the park to Mineral Springs, which again is located just north of Sheep Meadow. We'll see what exists there today and what used to exist there in the past. But we're going to begin our walk on 72nd Street and 8th Avenue, otherwise known as Central Park West, an area we're very familiar with, right nearby Strawberry Fields and just outside of the Dakota. Even though we can't see it, it's just off to our right in this photo. As we do enter the park, we're going to come in at Women's Gate, which is one of the about 20-something inscribed gates we can find throughout Central Park. We'll actually talk a little bit about why this is called Women's Gate in about a month or so when we come back and visit the pool, or rather visit the lake during the winter season. So come back in December and we'll talk a little bit about why this has the name Women's Gate. But for now, we're going to enter here and we're going to take a lesser seen and seldom used path located just behind that inscription. As we walk in the path and make our first left, we can take this really seldom noticed or used path that takes us into the park, diving us deeper in, passing some beautiful blooms along the way. I'm actually not sure if this is a type of sage or if it's another type of cardinal flower. Regardless of what it is, that beautiful purple, blue, lavender kind of color adds a really nice feeling to this kind of partly cloudy day as we're walking through the park. As we do walk down along this path, we can notice something that sometimes we don't really pay much attention to, and that's this wall that surrounds Central Park. Now that we're walking alongside of it, we can see how apparent it really is. And this wall was really always kind of an important part of Central Park. It wasn't really designed to keep people out. We can see it's pretty short and easy to hop over, but it was really meant to be kind of an aesthetic blend. We probably know a little bit about Central Park. It's a human constructed park created by Calvert Vaux and Frederick Law Olmsted. These two gentlemen wanted to create a beautiful blend that focuses on nature and naturalistic elements, but of course, really transition to the urbanization of the city around us. So this wall was a perfect transition point. We can see a few drawings here from early 1863 annual reports for the New York City Parks Department, which talk a little bit about these walls and their idea, helping to kind of create a balance between the outside city and the park we have here today. As we do walk through the park, we can see these walls being more noticeable. And we can also take note of what they used to look like back in the late 1800s. This is actually a photo from the Dakota building from about 1890, which is looking south. And what we can notice along the left side of the picture is this sandstone wall that started to be put up in the late 1800s. This wall, again, adds a really good benefit. It doesn't fully block our view as we're walking along the sides of the park, allowing us to look over the park, while still providing a little bit of a nice transition zone. And as we start to come around this area of the park, we can start to make our way down and really see how much that wall helps block out the busy side of 8th Avenue. Coming down here, we feel really immersed in all this plant life. And the walls do have an effect on that. I actually want to launch our first poll though, as we move along, which is, do you like the wall? With this one, just a simple one. Do you like the perimeter wall around the outside of the park? Or do you think it'd be better without it? The perimeter wall does add a few effects. The shape on the top of it is actually curved to prevent snow and leaves and trash from building up on there. So it helps it slide off, making it a little bit easier for our operations staff to take care of the park. I'll let everybody vote in that as we travel down the park a little bit more and make our way to an extremely beautiful arch here in Central Park, one that's known as Riffstone Arch. Riffstone Arch is one of my favorites in the park because once we see it fully covered with shrubs and vines like this, it's hard to realize that there's actually a stone arch underneath. It looks like a land bridge just coming over. Another great element about Riffstone is once we come under the bridge itself and we see just how really immersed it makes us feel. As we come under Riffstone Arch, we can really see that just immense darkness that it creates. I'm not sure the exact length of this arch, but coming underneath, it makes it feels like it's nighttime in the middle of the day. And as we adjust our camera and our sights, we can see just how immaculate it is underneath this arch. Seeing that bedrock of New York, the Manhattan schist, and seeing the way it just kind of grows out of the side of the arch. Really amazing, as well as seeing those drill and boring marks, which is how a lot of this rock was broken down. As we do pass through Riffstone Arch, we can find a lot of hidden secrets and really amazing things within Central Park. We can actually find one of those things just over here near Riffstone. What I'm holding in my hand in this photo is that of a geocache. A geocache is a really cool activity that you can do all across the world. It's basically like an international scavenger hunt using GPS coordinates. Using GPS coordinates and a few clues, you can locate various size containers all around the world. They might be as small as your pinky nail or as large as an ammo container. Some of them are going to be a little bit more decorative and better to conceal, like we can see these wooden trunk ones or pine cone hidden ones. But these can be found all around the world, throughout all different countries, all different types of landscapes like woodlands, parks, as well as even urban cities. In each geocache, you can find a collection of various items. This one holds a sticker. You can see a free coupon for a breakfast at the Hotel Edison, as well as what most hold, a little notepad that allow us to jot down our signature and really remember us finding this. For our occasion, I've added a little weekly walk tag for our Mineral Springs weekly walk today. So if anybody does go and find this geocache, you can try to look through the little notepad and find our weekly walk signature. These again can be found using the Geocache app, website, or locating the GPS coordinates online. A bunch of different ways that you can find out about that. As we do continue hiding that geocache again for any of those who wish to find it, I won't give you the information about where it is, but I'll let you know it's somewhere nearby Riffstone Arch. As we continue heading south from Riffstone Arch, we'll pass by a few of the beautiful trees that grace this area, like these large Norway spruce trees. Norway spruce trees are found throughout the park. One of my favorite areas to see them are Cedar Hill. And over there, we can see some of the larger strands, as well as these, which really kind of bring up in my mind that holiday season. Reminds me of the large Christmas trees that are displayed at Rockefeller Center. And really appropriate because since about 1981, the trees used for the Rockefeller Christmas tree have been Norway spruce, like this tree we can see here. So we will probably see another Norway spruce gracing Rockefeller Plaza this year when we get that Christmas tree coming in. As we do continue walking down along the bridle path that we're traveling on, which is a path for horseback riding, tend not to see too many horses today, but rather more bicyclists, runners, and even some late blooming flowers in this fall season. This is some species of rose. I'm not sure if it's going to be a China rose or if it's going to be some type of tea rose, but again, whatever it is, it's certainly a really beautiful one as we have this white color gracing those very dark green contrasted leaves. And as we make our way down the path a little bit, I do want to end that poll and share the results now that we're done with our little technology hiccup. And a lot of people actually appreciate the wall built around the park. It is really nice. It is made of a nice sandstone, which is really reminiscent of some of the main architectural points in the park, like Bethesda Terrace. So I do really enjoy that wall too, especially since, again, is created for not really keeping people out, but adding that transition point between the city and the park. As we come down and cross the West Side Drive, we'll wait for that crosswalk sign and then come over to a little fenced off area that holds a little bit of a secret over here. Not too many people notice this area. When we come up, we don't see too much going on besides a squirrel enjoying a little bit of peace and quiet on that very nice cared for turf. But what we actually see over here is an area for recreation and sport. And what this is the lawn bowling and croquet lawn. This is an area where you can do a very traditional activity in New York, lawn bowling. Lawn bowling has been around since the Dutch settled here, and we actually see early games of lawn bowling tracing back to the 1620s. We actually have the oldest park in New York, known as Bowling Green, and it gets that name because, you guessed it, lawn bowling matches would occur there very early on. Bowling Green would become the first park in New York City around 1733 during its dedication. We can still see this traditional activity being played here in Central Park, and of course, its origins trace back very, very long. Central Park has actually been used by the New York Bowling Club since about 1926, and they still use these areas today. You do need a permit in order to play on these today because of the large visitation of Central Park, but permits are very easy to obtain. And of course, you can certainly come out and play lawn bowling yourself. Lawn bowling being a little different than bocce ball because the ball we can see in this picture is actually more of an oval type of shape. So it's actually a little bit longer and not perfectly spherical, allowing that kind of ball to roll a little bit as it's thrown, coming closer to the jack or center ball you're aiming for. A lot of fun that can be had in Central Park, though, and a lot of little secrets like this that people don't typically notice. As we do make our way away from the Bowling Green area, we're going to come to our final stop for the tour today, which is going to be Mineral Springs. Again, Mineral Springs today refers to this area just north of Sheep Meadow. But what Mineral Springs used to refer to was a building that we no longer see here today. As we do come up to the brick building standing here currently, we can see it's a Le Pan Caten, which is a little cafe in the park, one that allows people to get some coffee, tea, or small food to refuel for their exploration throughout New York City and Central Park. But what we would have once seen in this area would have been a building known as the Spa. The Spa, as it would become nicknamed, we referred to this area Mineral Springs. And Mineral Springs was this beautifully ornamented and decorated mineral water bar. We probably can imagine New York was a very different place in the past. And in the early 1800s, a lot of disease and filth was really being spread around. Before proper water systems would be created in the 1840s, we would see wells being used. And because of a lot of animal waste and pollution, we would see yellow fever and cholera being extremely apparent. This spa, or Mineral Springs, was created to serve people clean, reliable drinking water. And after the different types of disease epidemics and points that hit, like in the 1830s, a cholera epidemic that killed about 3,500 people in 1 year, we saw ideas or support for this really being shown. This was a building that was started by a man, Carl H. Schultz, who was the owner of a mineral water company. And he petitioned to have this building created in Central Park. And he was successful in that because of, again, the feelings behind clean drinking water. We see this building being designed by Calvert Vaux, one of the park's creators, and another man who did the beautiful decoration and ornamentation we see on it Jacob Ray Mold, whose work can be noticed very presently in Bethesda Terrace. Inside, you would have found a hexagonal or octagonal shaped water bar that would have dispensed various types of mineral waters. We would have seen different types of seltzer style waters here. We would have seen different types of chemically enhanced water, whatever that may have been, as well as it being a great area for socialization in the park. This would be largely used between about 6 and 8 a.m. in the morning when most people would come and get some water, as well as say hello to everybody. This became a very great cultural center point within the park and at this location. And we would see actually people living nearby petitioning to have live music and to really extend this event. And we would see Carl Schulz, on top of paying the $30,000 to create this building, also fronting the bill for a band to perform here daily in the summer months. Between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., you could come see the Schultz band performing daily during the warmer months as people come, get their water, and socialize in this mineral springs area of Central Park. Unfortunately, like a lot of things in the park, we do see it declining over time, and we do see this building eventually being taken out around 1957, unfortunately, about 30 years after Carl Schulz's death. In the time in between, we do see this kind of having a slow progressive change, being used as a soda and candy shop before eventually the building is taken down. We will eventually see this structure being replaced here, kind of looking similar to the top tier portion of the original spa building. But of course, today serving a very different purpose of providing food and different types of snacks. As we do turn our attention to our last stop on the tour today, we will go to the lawn just adjacent of Mineral Springs. And while we come over here, I do want to launch a last poll, which is, do you have a favorite park beverage to enjoy? Of course, there's a lot of different things we can enjoy in the park, whether you're drinking water, mineral water, or regular, or if you're drinking coffee, tea, hot chocolate, soda. I did put wine or beer because there are some areas you are permitted to legally drink in the park. Or if you have an other favorite beverage, please share that in the chat and let us know what you like to drink in the park. While we vote in that, we'll come out onto this little lawn and visit our final stop. The lawn just adjacent to Mineral Springs, or the Lake Panatin that sits there today, is known as Frisbee Hill. And this small but really nice expansive lawn is a great spot to come and, as you might have guessed, play a game of Frisbee or maybe hang out with your four-legged friend, as we can see in the far right over here. This smaller lawn just north of Mineral Springs is a great alternative when Sheep Meadow, the much larger meadow just south of here, is a little too crowded. It'll allow you to get a little bit more space, maybe be a little more comforting if you have kids, as well as just be a little bit different of a view in the park. We can also notice how nice and open it is today, but sometimes this area changes up drastically. Like a few weeks ago, you might have seen large crowds forming on here for the Central Park Film Festival, an annual miniature film festival we hold every year, which occurs typically the first or second week in October. This year's dates were October 5th, October 7th, and October 8th. And this was actually presented and sponsored by National Geographic. So each of those nights we would see a movie, a documentary style movie being aired. Some really amazing films that were shown that I don't recall the names of, but that can be found online. But this is a photo that we can see from, I believe, in 2018, the film festival, where it was a little bit more crowded out there. But there's always fun, interesting events to find out about in Central Park. And of course, we here at the Conservancy are doing a lot to help hopefully give back to you beyond just caring for the park, but providing fun social events in which we can all come out. And it's really amazing to have these type of interactive social events because as we can imagine, or as we've learned, about 125 years ago, people were gathering at a different time of the day to socialize in this very same area. So very historically accurate that we all come back and get to experience these types of social gatherings and events in Central Park. With that does bring us to the end of our walk. I do want to end that poll and share our results. And it looks like, ding, 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 water is going to be the winner. I certainly drink a lot of water each day besides coffee. So those would be my two guesses, but very fitting that water is the winner for our Mineral Springs Spa walk today. as we do come to the end, we can enjoy a nice empty meadow that we presently have as we're walking around the park. And of course, as the winter approaches, hopefully we'll see things quiet down even a little bit more. But as we enjoy the rest of fall season, I want to thank you so much for joining us on our walk to Mineral Springs today. I hope again you learned a little bit about this area, a little bit about maybe some of the events that we offer at the Conservancy, as well as just appreciate the beauty of the park. I do apologize again for that little technological issue we had early, but hopefully everybody still had a wonderful time. And again, we have plenty of other ways to stay involved in the park, whether you can make it in the park for a live tour, plenty of new ones being launched like our fall foliage walks, as well as plenty of our regular staple tours. And of course, we're continuing to do 45-minute long virtual programs and our 15-minute long weekly walks every Wednesday at 12:30. Thank you so much again for joining us today. Once again, I'm Ryan, and from all of us here at the Central Park Conservancy, stay safe, be well, and we'll see you soon.